everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 7 of 86. So we've been slowly but surely getting to know this squad of the Spearhead unit, and then slowly but surely they're all dying. So that's a thing. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to getting to know these characters and enjoying them like Daya, and then them just die like that. And it's just is what it is. And then the characters move on, like, because what other choice do they have? They don't really have any opportunities to kind of wallow in their grief. And even Lena, who has more time than they do, still is struggling with that as well as she's getting to know this unit. And there's all this mystery surrounding Sheen and his brother Ray. There's all this mystery of how Lena knows him and how her and Sheen's memories are maybe merging. And what do we do about the Legion and them copying brains? And is Ray's brain being used by Legion? And there's just a lot of mystery, and I still think there's quite a bit that Lena has no clue about that Sheen may know about but isn't telling her. So lots of theories, as y'all know I've been positing, and lots of things going on, but I really enjoy this series, and it's one of those that I'm just like, I'm trying not to get attached to these characters because I know they're gonna die, but I had to go ahead and watch this episode. I know I haven't checked the comments for this last episode or the one before it, but I had to go ahead and watch this episode because I just couldn't wait. So I did have one comment I wanted to talk about, and that is Juanito7230 talked about the 561 deaths that Sheen has experienced have been from unit to unit. And that makes more sense now that we understand that they can transport from unit to unit. I don't know why I thought that once you got to one unit, you didn't leave. That's just kind of my theory and what it had been. And it kind of would make sense because, you know, usually most of the 86, once they get to a unit, they don't leave because they die. So, you know, I just hadn't really put together that Sheen's been going from unit to unit and collecting all of these different pieces. He's been looking for his brother, and we know that they just announced there's this base in District 1. They seem to think that there might be a commander of these Legion that's in District 1, which is where Sheen's made it to. Could it be Ray? I don't know. You know, I'm sure it is, but that's what the story's been leading to. But there's still something else. There's something missing, right? I feel like this story has definitely not played all of its hand. Absolutely not. It's holding a lot of cards close to the vest. And I feel like it's going to lay down some cards, you know, by the time we get to the halfway point of this series, that's going to be like, oh, and then go from there. So we'll just have to see, right? But before we start, I want to give a quick shout out over to Mevelin, who's been the one that's been getting me these episodes now. I'm not using a streaming service now. Mevelin has been getting them to me because they have the fan translation. So thank you so much, Cyber, for getting me these episodes. I really appreciate it. All of my love to you. And then all of my love to the philanthropy tier over on Patreon. These individuals, they support me each month. They're super supportive. All of Patreon is supportive. I am super grateful for everyone on Patreon that supports me, whether it's $1, $5, but the $10 folk, they get a shout out in these videos. So I'm especially appreciative of them. So want to give a quick shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Anime Annie, to Anna, to Ashley Got Snow Bitches, to Be Happy, to Dana, to Destiny Marie, to Eric, to Edgar, as well as to Kiri, to Nameless Monster, to Matthew Palfiniere, as well as Shimoyama, Sunspots, Trails, Translucent Men, Tyrone, Lyndon, Zachiel, as well as Jimmy Lujan, Aku Q, and Lexi McDaniel. Thank you all so very much. I really appreciate it. All of my love. So, Nuclear Gandhi on the Discord had talked about how the soundtrack was really good, and a lot of reactors don't talk about it. It's amazing. It's Sawano. What else can I say? But I do feel bad. My own music program was cut when I was in junior high, so I don't have a very good musical background at all, and I feel like I can't add much to the conversation except to say it's incredible, and the sound design works really, really well and makes for these really awesome moments when they use sound or don't use sound. So just know, as I'm reacting to these episodes, that the sound is on my mind. I just don't have a lot to verbally say about it. But I did hear all of your comments when you talk about it, and I'm sitting there reading going, yep, I 100% agree. So that's where we're at. But Well, we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to dive right in and see what episode 7 gets us. We're not to the episode 8 yet. Episode 8's always my lucky number, so we'll see what leads up to that, right? And we're going to start that episode here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, this is heartbreaking. It hurts here. It really hurts. Oh my God. I was meant to cry that whole episode. I was like, am I going to cry? I usually don't get emotional. I don't usually I'm like sobbing internally constantly, but externally I rarely like cry or be like boo-hoo. If something makes me cry, it has like triggered a deep resonating part of me, or it is like really cut to my core. And usually in a lot of anime, things happen so fast that they don't have time to sink in, and after they sink in, then it's like, oh, this is really sad. But here it was all sinking in, and I was like, oh no, because it has been suspicious since the beginning, the idea of, oh, once your term is over, you're going to be citizens. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. There are no non-Albans inside San Magnolia, so that makes no sense. Where do they all go? Do they just get sent back into the camps? Do they go somewhere else? No, they don't go anywhere. They all get killed. It's just like an execution chamber. It's like an extermination chamber, and that's basically these grounds. The idea is however many units they have, they're just wiping you out, and then they're going to go pick fresh recruits from the camps, plop them back in, and they've probably done the math to think, okay, well, in the 2 years that the Legion's going to expire, we can keep on just sending new recruits here, here, and here, and we'll be fine, right? But it's like, what else can we do, you know? And what's curious is that, yeah, I know Spearhead has the mentality of, they talk at the end of the episode about how they chose not to be the scum that sent them there. They chose to like take the high road and be like, well, and then Raiden had that really good monologue that we'll go back over at the end of this. And I do understand like where Spearhead is coming from. Like they're like, we're not going to go out without a fight, and it's either we just sit here and die or we try to survive the best we can. Like that's human instinct to survive. But I'm honestly surprised that more of the 86 that are not as, you know, high caliber as the Spirit unit, I'm surprised they don't just like kick the bucket and let Legion take over. I'm really surprised that it's like a cultural thing, right? But I guess that's human resilience in a nutshell, you know? So, oh my God, like I'd been in the back of my head, and I know we've talked about the discussions, I'm like, it just seems like something's up. And yeah, no, the revelation that Spearhead is where we send the best of the best because they're most likely to cause a rebellion, so we're going to get rid of them. That is insanity. So basically, yeah, they send them 24 at a time, just enough to be a unit and be cohesive, but not enough to really do anything severe. And they slowly pick them off until they're gone. And then they're like, okay, well, those were the biggest threats to our republic that could have caused rebellion, that could have done something. So now they're gone. Now we'll just take the next 24 that are the most problematic and just get rid of them that way. So many questions. So obviously we're going to talk about like the unit and who's left, because that was a big thing. They don't come outright and say who died and who didn't. There's a lot of visual clues that we need to go through. But my thing is, we know that the Legion is not going out in 2 years. Or at least that's what Sheen has led us to believe, that no, they've got Rey's brain. They're not going to go out in 2 years. They're going to keep getting stronger. And once we're gone, they're just going to attack the Republic and y'all are going to die. So have fun with that, you know. But my question is, does the government know that? Does the government know that? Do they have any idea this information that Sheen has given them? And if I were Lena at this point, and I was sitting there going, so this has all come out. Because I don't think she's going to do like Karina and Anju think and just abandon them. That's not Lena. But I feel like she's going to say, okay, does my uncle and them need to know that the people they're wiping out they might want to keep them around. Might want to keep them around. But then there's the question of, is it even, you know, at this point, there's so much unreliable narration going on. because we've been led to believe a certain thing, and then they peel back a layer and it's like, no, well, you thought this, but this is actually the case. You thought this is actually the case. So is the Legion even an outside threat? Or is it just this one country decided that, because it's been brought up in the comments that the 86 is primarily a group of immigrants. They're primarily people that have immigrated into San Magnolia, and that's why we get the whole incident with Kaya and her family. That's why they talked about mixed bloods with Anju and Haruto and some others that we'll go back through and put on whiteboard Kun here. But they talk about how, there's a lot of discrimination within the 86 amongst themselves and against the Albans and from the Albans. So my thing at this point is it even a situation where the Legion is even from Jihad? Is that even the case? Or is it something that was conspired by the government to just be like, we're tired of dealing with this immigration situation, and we're tired of these immigrants coming in, they took our jobs and all this, so are we just gonna fabricate this war that doesn't actually exist? We are the ones that made Legion. We're the ones who started this. And so we've just fabricated this whole thing to find a way to get rid of them ethically without the public having backlash. Very possible at this point. I wouldn't put it past it if Lena finds out the smoking gun is, oh no, my country is actually causing genocide of an entire people and putting it under the guise of a war. And no, it's just been us killing them from the start. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case because it's happened in history. Wouldn't put it past it. Nope. Which is horrifying. Horrifying. And if I'm Lena, what do we do then? What if you find that out? So it's going to be interesting to see if if Legion is actually a threat from an outside country that's gone rogue, and the government either doesn't have a contingency plan for if that 2-year period is true or not, or they have a contingency plan, but they're not telling anybody about it. I feel like it could go one of a couple ways. Either Legion is entirely a made up excuse for genocide, which it kind of already is. But if it was that from the start, if Legion was just a made up thing that was genocide from the very beginning, and it's never been jihad, it's never been its own, the other country that started this was not even a thing. If it was that way from the start, it's either that or they legit are dumb and the government doesn't realize, and the government does not know that the 2-year limit is false. They either don't know the 2-year limit is false, and but honestly, this government is much smarter than it appears. It's doing things very strategically, and we're just now figuring out exactly the depth of this. So I don't think that that's it. I don't think that this series is going to be one where the government is so dumb they don't realize it. Because in some anime it is like that, where the government is that dumb, and you're like, did you guys not think of this one thing? And they're like, we didn't have any idea. And you're like, the fudge. So, but I don't think that's it. Either they fabricated this whole thing from the start. Legion is something they created to cause mass genocide under the guise of war to make it seem ethical and humane. And then they fabricated this whole thing about the 86 being pigs to make it seem much more appropriate and manageable that these people are dying because they're not human, unless it's been entirely made up. Or the other possibility is that the government does have a plan. They do have a plan for after 2 years, but their goal in the meantime is to wipe out as much of the 86 as possible. Like, they've got some kind of special cannon, some kind of bomb, some kind of something. They're going to just bomb Legion and destroy and wipe out the rest of 86 along with it. I could see that. So I think it's either one of the two scenarios. Either this whole thing has been made up by the government from the start to solve an immigration problem via genocide, and make it to where it seems less than genocide to the people that could possibly feel empathy for them. Either it's that, or they do have a contingency plan in place if the Legion lasts beyond 2 years, but they're not telling anybody because it's going to mean wiping out all of 86 in order to enact it. Or it could be a third option I don't even know about yet, but those are my two theories. Those are my two theories as far as we're going with this plan. But that's just so wild, right? And then we have the thing with the fireworks where everybody's running around playing with the fireworks. And of course, Sheen, we see Anju cry, like Raiden sees her cry, and she actually sheds tears for the first time. I love the characterization that Anju is not somebody that openly shows emotion. And from the looks of, she has this, we'll talk about it in the shower scene, she has these words carved into her back that she's had this abuse enacted upon her. It would be understandable why she's so reserved, why she doesn't let people in, why she holds them at arm's length, because she doesn't want to have to like be vulnerable. And so, and it's like a coping mechanism, it's a coping defensive mechanism. And so her crying openly and Raiden seeing it is like her finally grieving Daya and him dying, and her like letting her have that emotion. So that's really beautiful. And she's able to do it because everybody's distracted by the fireworks. So Lena makes that, avenue possible for her. And then Theo and the others kind of notice it. What's interesting is Sheen and Lena, whose relationships I love. I love Sheen and Lena's relationship. They are so amazing in how they're developing their dialogue and how they're developing their relationship together. Sheen is still hiding something. There's still something not being said, at least. I am not fully, this episode made me more convinced that Sheen was maybe not working against his comrades, but there's still something that I think even Sheen knows that the others don't. Maybe Karina knows it because she's the closest to him, but I feel like there's something he's still hiding that he's not telling the other 86 or Lena that he knows, because he was really excited to find Ray. He was super excited to find Ray. Like, he was like, okay, I found my brother, which that could be something as simple as Sheen just wants to find Ray at the end, confront his brother, confess his sins, apologize to him, and then knock himself out because he thinks that it's going to be, or maybe Sheen wants to join Ray at this point. Maybe Sheen is waiting until all of his comrades are dead and then he's going to join Legion. I don't know. Maybe he knows that it's all fabricated and he's going to wait till they're all dead and then join Legion. I don't know. I don't know. There's still some mystery with Sheen's character that I'm excited for us to find out. But I like the dynamic that Sheen and her are talking more and more. And the part where he like calls her and is like, hey, you didn't call like you normally do. It's a little bit Stockholm syndrome, but it's that habit, right? They've developed this relationship and he showed some concern for her. Like, are you okay? And she's like, oh, I'm just stuck at this stupid party. So yeah, we get past this OP here. Oh my God. So yeah, I also, like I said in the reaction, noticed that Sheen and Ray's, the bandanas around the Undertaker on both units are different colors. Sheen's is blue and Ray's is red. So, also looking at the OP, Lekka and Daya have been added to the Fallen now, so that's heartbreaking. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more added next week when we get to that. So, exciting times. So, okay, she has this supply order that she says, the attached packing list, and she signs it to go get the order sent in to the supplies for Spearhead Squadron in Combat District 1, right? Which, it makes much more sense now why the people unloading all the stuff were like, oh, do you have to beg to get this? Because they all know that they're going to die. They all know that they're on a time clock. It's so disgusting and disturbing that they are supplying them with all this food and all of this stuff, knowing that they're just there to die. Like, that is so messed up. Nope. Not cool at all. Not cool one bit. And she slides him the money to not look in the box. I like that she gives him the money. The thing about it is, like, why would they care? It's not. And now it makes more sense why they wouldn't give him the mortars. Because if they're a unit that the government is afraid has the capacity to rebel against them, they wouldn't want to give them the mortars, because that would be ammunition that they could use against the government. And they wouldn't want to supply them with troops because they're just going to kill them anyway, so why waste the time and effort? Oh my God, it makes all the sense now, right? So yeah, and I like that the Revolution Festival, right, August 25th. I like that we have you know, San Magnolia has this weird mascot. I know Japan has like mascots in every district and they have mascots for everything. There's one on Twitter I follow. It's like the one that was on John Oliver. It's the one that's like violent, like destroys stuff. It's chaotic. Love it though. Its name is like Chibi-Rin or something. But my dog. But yeah, I like that San Magnolia's mascot is this like space bear with magnolia petals like coming out like a collar, right? And of course, Lena, girl, I relate to Lena so much. Like when she tripped and fell, I do that all the time. I relate to Lena a lot, and she's just like, and they're like, "Are you okay, Major?" And they kind of like mock her in that moment, and she's like, "Son of a bitch, hate this." So anyway, she goes to the ID confirmation, and she goes there, and again we see her walking throughout the city, and they're lighting up the city to get ready for the festival. She has all the different flowers now. She has 3 different ones, which I'm assuming represent they've lost 3 others. They've lost 3 new people, and that's why she's getting let me get the right colors on here. So the flowers she gets are like blue, yellow, and lilac are the 3 flowers that she has as she's walking down the street. And I'm assuming that means we've lost 3 others since then, because she looks very sad. She gets the flowers like she's going to. And we see all these guys like walking around the streets. They're lighting up for the festival. She sees the lights all light up. Everybody gets excited. So we see what's interesting is all the male characters like roaming the streets are all like drunk. They have like little San Magnolia mascot shirts. They're waving flags around. They're just like toting booze bottles like they're drunk. So far, a lot of the male characters that are either in military positions or just civilians are portrayed as like partiers and drunkards. And I don't know, the author of this light novel is a woman, so take that for what you will. I assume she's making a statement about the culture and about, you know, these guys don't have to do anything. And also, don't blame Annette and Lena for not going after any of these guys, because no takers, no keepers, none that I've seen so far. And then you see the kids running around with the flags. They don't know any different. And the people of 86 are telling her, if it's that hard, you should just quit. The Squadron telling her you should just get out now. And the thing of it is, they don't want her sticking around because they're realizing how nice of a person she is and that she's going to take this real hard. Like, it seems like the other handlers they've had, they either knew about the situation, or if they didn't know, they didn't stay long enough or didn't care and it wasn't worth their time. And they were like, whatever. And it makes sense now. Why they know that it doesn't matter, because they know going into this, when they arrived at the Squadron, they all were like, it's basically an execution sentence. They're like, we're just on death row. Spearhead is literally death row, and they've been there this whole time. So are there only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, are there only 9 left of them all? They're like, we really don't need you for anything. There's only 9 on the map. Oh. And they're like, we can handle things even if we don't have you as a control officer. And so Cucamilla. And I do agree with Cucamilla in the sense that if she's going to have freakouts and the voices are going to mess with her head, they're like, that's distracting to us. So if you're going to have a freak out and this is going to be a problem, you might as well just go, because we can handle it whether you're here or not. They're like, it's distracting to us. So yeah, so who do we have left? We have Undertaker. We have Undertaker, who is Sheen. We have Falk. We have Fafnir. We have Helianthus. We have Werewolf. Walpurgis is gone. No. Griffin, Manticore, Laughing Fox. Laughing Fox we know is Theo. And then Artemis is gone. Catanine. Kirschblut. Sirius is gone. Lucosia is gone. Gunmetal Storm. Black Dog, Dia's gone. Snow Witch is there. Okay, and Snow Witch we know is Anjou. And then, we'll get this on here. So we go down, Gunslinger. We have Lebet's gone. Din Drapus is gone. March Hare's gone. I can't believe, because March Hare was in the last episode, right? But they're like, March Hare's gone and Gunslinger. So, and we know Gunslinger is Karina. I think it's interesting that Gunslinger and Undertaker are like on bookends here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 12 that were on the map as being okay, but 3 of them weren't showing up on the map earlier. And they're like, those voices, we hear them all the time. They're like, we hear them, you know. And then she has this freak out moment when she starts to hear things. And like, we have to listen to dying screams all the time, even without the Legion here. So like, we're used to it. And they're like, honestly, dying instantly when the Juggernaut explodes is the best way to go. And anytime now that I see them juxtapose like a discussion about guts being spilled everywhere and people dying in battle and it being gory, and they juxtapose it with people eating food, all I can think about is Return of the King, where Faramir, Denethor, the father of Boromir and Faramir in Lord of the Rings, Denethor, he's sitting there eating his food as he makes Pippin sing the song about going to battle and being crushed and everything, and they juxtapose it. It's really well done. Return of the King, it's great. But she's just disgusted by it. And there's people laughing and in love and enjoying all of this frivolous stuff and privilege, and it makes Lena sick because she just can't stand the idea that they're all enjoying all these luxuries, and meanwhile, the people that she cares about are on the battlefield dying. And not just dying, but even the ones that don't die are being haunted and plagued by the voices of those dying, and just hoping that they either get blown up in their Juggernaut or that Sheen shoots them in the face. Which is absolutely heartbreaking. She's like, hearing the voices of the long dead are nothing. And I like, of course, the red balloon floating past the statue of the queen with the sword, Lune, right? I'm assuming that's who it is. So then we see her with the 3. And we see, okay, there were 3 more added to the dead. So the 3, did that make it down to 9? Losing 3 of these made it down to 9? I'm assuming maybe. Because she's added more to the box. And she's sitting there drinking her tea when she says, it's just us guys here. And they're like, Shuga, where's Nozen? And then I like she immediately asks if he was, hurt in battle, because she's like, I don't want that to happen. They're like, no, he's just sleeping. And so we don't know the truth, but what does she say there? It's probably exhausting never getting a break 24 hours a day because of the voice of the Legion. And they're like, well, it's nothing you can do about it. They're like, we all get tired sometimes just being out here. Like, and that's the thing too. For her, she's like, oh, well, it must be exhausting, like hearing the voices. And then they're like, well, we get tired too, because it's just like, we're either battling in this war, you're sitting in a chair behind a computer screen, we're out actually doing the combat stuff. So yeah, it gets exhausting. Sometimes you just get tired and you need to go to sleep. And she's like, but the stress on you is increasing with all these casualties. And she's like, you haven't been given a single new member since I arrived. And she keeps talking about it being a top priority and that she's going to work really hard. And now Raiden's hesitation makes more sense, because he was like, oh, yeah, that'd be good. He didn't tell her at the time that there's no point. They're not going to give you those extra people. That's not going to happen. So it's so, in hindsight, now when you go back and watch the episode, it's like all the times where she's been like, oh, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do that for you. They're like, don't get attached to us, because there's really no point. We're all going to die. So you getting attached to us isn't going to do anything. Right? Oh, damn. I love the rewatchability of this series, because you go back and see this. And then she's like, well, your unit's defending our most important base. It has the right to receive enforcements. So, okay. And then we go back and look at the thing where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. 13. There's 13 on there if you count. It shows 13 on there, but she's off to the side, right? Has she put herself on there? Because that little thing shows 13, and you can see Sheen and all them. there's 13 on the bulletin board, but I don't know if she's counting herself as one of them because there's only 12 that was on the map earlier. So, interesting. She's like, I'm going to continue to send requests. And that one, which could be her, is kind of off to the side by itself. So maybe that's it. Maybe she's just putting herself on the board with them, which would be really nice. I would like the idea if Lena put herself on the bulletin board with them. That's kind of cool. I like that that's the case. But there's 13 on the bulletin board, 14 if you count Ray. And there's only 12 that was on the map earlier. Interesting. And she's like, hang in there a little bit longer. And they're like, yeah, thanks, I guess. Yeah, they're just like, and at the time you're like, well, you guys should be happy she's trying to get your reinforcements. But now it makes sense they're not happy because they know that it's not going to do anything. She's not going to get those reinforcements. Oof. Oof, indeed. So she goes to her uncle. He has cigars there and a bottle of wine. Like she has schmoozed her way getting him those gifts so she could get private audience with him to ask for more reinforcements. And he knows that there's no way that's going to happen. Yep, August 16th. Yeah, just like 2 weeks later. Nice. Yep, you decide to overstep yourselves. And then she talks about that we need replacements for the spearhead unit. And that's the thing. I'll do anything to help them. And beg you. She says, I will beg you for aid. And he's like, so that makes more sense now that they haven't gotten any spare parts. And that makes more sense because now all those times before when Sheen's been asking when are the new supplies coming, that all has a new context because the new supplies mean that they're anticipating getting a new batch of 86 members. So when the one mechanic's like, so the mechanic has probably been there seeing all the new recruits, all the new people over and over again in a sequence, right? Seeing it over and over again. So the moment that Sheen and them find out they're about to get a new shipment, that means, okay, the government's done with us. They're going to send us to the most dangerous places and the most dangerous situations so that we'll just die off and they can replace us with a new group. Damn. That is so messed up. So yeah, and she's like, well, I've gone to every department for help. And he's like, yeah, the resupply and replacement parts from the Eastern Theater are a settled matter. Yeah, there's nothing we can do at this moment to change the fact that they're all going to die. So don't try to alter the plan. We've got it in place. And of course, that's why none of the other departments would help her. Oh my God. Yep. He's like, I've informed them of your request. And he's like, what does he say there? You probably don't know, but it's an internal matter. And so the thing about it is, he tells her all this knowing, and I can understand why the uncle wouldn't want to tell her. Because he knows how she is. And he knows that she will be super pissed when she finds out, and it will break her heart. So he's trying to be like, yeah, we've already got it taken care of. It's fine. Thinking that the 86 aren't going to tell her that she's not that close to them. And she's like, oh, well, we're finally getting supplies. Oh, my God. We're finally getting, he's like, so do your duty as best as you can. Just hold it over until they're all gone, and then we'll resupply you. So then he asks, he's like, are you ready for the Revolution Festival party? He's like, forget about this planned genocide. Oh, forget about all that. We got that taken care of. Are you going to go to the party? Are you going to go celebrate our nation and how great it is? This conversation is like the ick factor, right? Where he's like, attend the party in a proper dress. I'm like, F you and the horse you rode in on, sir. I'll wear a dress if I good and well want to. Nothing as a female, nothing makes me cringe and like internally die as someone telling me how to present myself. I'm like, I've always hated that. I don't like pet names, and I don't like them being like, well, smile and wear a pretty dress. And I'm like, or you could jump off a cliff. I'm like, ew, gross. And so I love Lena's like, Lena has the best reaction. I love Lena's strategy where she's like, a proper dress. I'll give you a proper dress. Your mom wears a proper dress, you know? And he's like, oh, isn't that the real job of the daughter of the Malise family? Ugh. I feel like Lena is like wartime Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and her uncle's like Gaston, where he's like, women, soon they'll get ideas and start thinking. It's not right for a woman to read. It just is so patriarchal and like gross. You know, that her duty is just to look pretty and marry some guy to further this Malise family line. I hope that she like sets fire to this place. At this point, I am honestly rooting for Lena to just set fire to San Magnolia, run off with Sheen somewhere, and be like, screw y'all, bye, and just get the hell out of there. Maybe save Annette. Maybe, but I doubt Annette will leave. But, just like, makes me uncomfortable. Like, gross. It's basically the equivalent of somebody being like, isn't your place in the kitchen? And I'll be like, I will set fire to your kitchen, sir. And she just looks at him like, excuse me? She's like, She's like, sure, okay, bye. And then she shows up with the black dress. Love it. I love she just comes. It's an act of protest because for Lena, she's just wearing this black dress like she's in mourning. And when Annette says that, I'm like, yeah, she is in mourning because no one else is recognizing all the people that are dying around her and around the entire Republic of San Magnolia. So it's like a piece of protest art. She's like, I'm wearing this in protest, wearing it for mourning, but it's also like a big middle finger being like, I don't want any of these guys to talk to me. So no, thank you. Love it. Love it. My friend and I went to a anime convention years and years ago, and she'd never been before, and we both dressed up in cosplay. And she was like, when we were at the convention, like people would go up and talk to you and like all this stuff. But when you went outside of the convention and like went to a restaurant or something, people were like, they didn't know how to treat you, and it was like you were the plague. And for me, an introvert, I was like, this is great. Leave me alone. I love it. So yeah, I'm just like, go you, Lena. Get on it. And the thing about it is that like Annette kind of gets onto her, but then Annette's avoiding all the guys there too because they're all these old, pompous, gross men. So it's like, just, you know, I'm like, girl, I'm like, Lena, get you some. And then she hears Sheen, and he was catching in with her to make sure that she was okay. And then she goes out into the balcony. I half expected someone to stop her. I half expected somebody to come out and like be like, what are you doing? What's going on? Honestly, I'm waiting for the moment in this series where the uncle finds out how often she's been talking to the 86, and he's going to like try to restrict her access or like I'm fully ready for her to get her status as handler taken away, especially after this episode when she's found out some hardcore truths. And him be like, oh, you're not ready to be a handler anymore. Or he like takes her out and puts her to another unit or something like that. Or takes the para-raid away from her. My fear is that Annette, who out of a place of concern, I feel like Annette is going to be concerned for Lena and think that she's trying to help her friend, and say, hey, I need to get you away from the para-raid because it's merging your memories. It's causing you like psychological damage. I want you to be safe. Not realizing like how invested Lena is in this, or not particularly giving Lena the agency that she deserves. And I feel like Annette is going to try to get Lena away from the Spearhead unit and away from the para-raid equipment. And she thinks she's helping Lena, but it's going to cause all this craziness. So, or Sheen's going to be like, what the fudge is going on? So, I don't know. I think at this point, the 86 Spearhead unit should know that the only way Lena's going to leave is if they drag her away from it. But I was expecting like her uncle to come out here and be like, who are you talking to? Why are you spending all this time on the para-raid equipment during the Revolution Festival? Why aren't you being a lady? And so I'm waiting for that other shoe to drop. And her, because she's been really fortunate that nobody's really questioning her and how invested she's getting. But Lena's making such waves. Like, I would think at this point, she's been going to every unit asking for backup. She's snuck in fireworks. She's been doing all this stuff that are like calling attention to her in the unit. And I'm surprised nobody's like thought that maybe she's overstepping her boundaries yet. But maybe they don't care because they know it's not going to change the fact that they're all going to die. And maybe the uncle's like, you know what? You want this position as handler? Fine. But when they're all dead and you're out of it, maybe that's what he's banking on. Maybe he's banking on the fact that all these characters are going to die and she's going to be so heartbroken that she just can't be handler anymore. And he's like, well, that solves that problem. She can go off and be a wife, and then we'll just get somebody else to do the job. Maybe that's what they're banking on, but I don't think that's exactly how it's going to go. And so they talk about the festival, and she again brings up the idea that, again, because of the air pollution, the light pollution, you can't see the fireworks as well as she believes the fireworks are where they're at. I also noticed that Lena's wearing lipstick in her dress. She does have lipstick. I wish she'd wore black lipstick. I thought that would have been like the perfect cherry on top with the black dress, but she does look really pretty. I think the dress looks great, but it's just hilarious that it's like a morning dress, and she has the white rose in her hair with like the little black feathers coming off of it. And she says that she's like, I wish I could see them. And I like that she kind of at first says, you know, I wish I could see them with you, but then she kind of retracts and kind of thinks and goes, ooh, that sounds very privileged. She's like, you guys have told me all along how bad it is over there. I shouldn't be like, you know, patronizing, being like, oh, I wish I could see him with you, when that's really not the case. So instead, she switches it around and says, someday let's all watch fireworks in District 1 together. And I think that kind of pushes things over the edge, where Sheen's like, yeah, she needs to know, because she's talking about like what they're going to do when they get out and when their term's over, and she's making plans to like book an event at District 1, and Sheen's like, oh, before you put a down payment, we got some news that you might want to know, right? It's just really sad. She's like, we could watch them together. And then he's like, no, this is the first time we've been able to give them a proper salute. They don't really like the mushy-gushy stuff. And then he says Anju was able to cry, so it means a lot for you to give her the chance to see that. And so then Sheen tells her, you remember my brother. I don't remember him at all, which is a little bit of a lie. Again, you can't quite trust Sheen because he's lying to her. He does remember Ray a bit. Enough. Not good memories of him, but he does remember him. So Sheen is definitely an unreliable narrator. And so he's like, you remember my brother though, so will you remember all of us? And what's so heartbreaking is that she says she will, and then again we have her, this kind of goes back to the ED, we have her reaching out, her arm to like reach out to them, like she wishes she could grab them, and it's just like in the ED, like her reaching out is juxtaposed with someone reaching out begging for Sheen to kill them, right, to take their heart with them. So it's this really cool parallel of Lena is reaching out, trying to get her heart to like get to them. She wants her heart to reach them, and she wants to reach their hearts. And then you have it juxtaposed with someone dying as Sheen's about to shoot them, reaching out to him, asking him to take their heart, and them giving it to him. So it's this nice little parallel. It's really good. But yeah, but what's so sad is that it's so much easier to forget a voice than it is to forget a face. Or at least that's what I think. I think it's much easier to forget how someone sounds than to forget a face and what they look like. But I just want her to meet them and to see them. Maybe it'll happen. Who's going to be left at that point? I don't know. And he's like, will you remember us as well, Major? And she's like, of course I will. And yeah, there's her reaching out. And that part where Sheen says, will you remember us, Major? That is so freaking sad, because he's basically saying, after we've all died, will you take our hearts? And that kind of answers Karina's question, because Karina's question, the thing that Karina is worried about is she knows that Sheen, let me get this right. She knows that Sheen is going to be the shepherd of their hearts. He's going to take them to the afterlife instead of them becoming Legion. But she's like, what about Sheen? And that is a big question. Does Sheen expect to be taken by Legion? Does Sheen think he's going to take his own life? Like, what is going to end up happening? And I almost feel like Lena in this moment answered Karina's question, that Lena would take his heart and take his memory and take their memories on. But Karina doesn't like Lena, and you can't blame her because she has this bad experience with the Albans. And so you can just tell that Karina also likes Sheen, so it's kind of like a love triangle-esque situation. So it's just really sad. And I think that Karina knows that Sheen doesn't like her that way. I think she knows, and that's one of the reasons why she's afraid to say anything. And I don't blame her. Unrequited love sucks. I have been on the side of things with unrequited love where I've liked somebody and they did not return that like, and it is a hard road to hoe. It just makes you miserable. And so I don't blame Karina for wanting to keep everything. It's like Schrodinger's cat. She's like, if I don't say anything, then he technically doesn't love me. But if I say it and it's not mutual, then it's over. So it's like, let's just keep the ball in the air for as long as possible. She's like, I know he's going to kill me one day. I'm ready for that. And then maybe I'll tell him then that I love him. Maybe I'm waiting for that moment. But I feel like she's waiting for that moment. But she's like, until we get to that point, I don't want to tell him, because then if it's not returned, that'll just be the worst thing ever. You know? And my dogs are probably going to bark because they probably see a deer or something. Who knows? She's like, but before that, I won't let you die. I won't let anyone else die. Well, I feel like other people do die, but I'm like, girl, do not make promises you can't keep. Like when she says, I won't let you die, I'm like, that's good enough. You don't have to say specific names. You don't say anyone else. You could just say, I'm not going to let you die. That's good. But her saying anyone else, I'm like, girl, you are making a promise you cannot keep, especially with this situation. Will you remember me? That's this episode. So yeah, they're like, here's your stuff that, you know, I don't know why, as if a pig deserves a present from a human. I hate it. I hate how, like, just, how obnoxious they are, right? And here's all the supplies. They're getting all these supplies in along with new juggernauts that have arrived because they expect them all to go to the new base and get wiped out. The uncle sent them to this new base under the guise it's really important because he knows that it's not gonna matter. So, and I know Sheen's like, this base is just a decoy. So all the times earlier when Sheen was talking to the crew before Lena got there, they already, oh my God, they already know that they were going to be in trouble, and they already knew that the base they were being sent to is just an execution ground. So that brings up the idea, though, that, okay, if we think about it this way, let's say that the Legion is something made up by the government. Then are they privy to the idea that the Legion are copying the brains of the 86 to be used as military weapons? Are they aware of that? So could it be that Ray figured out that the Legion was going to use his brain as their new commander, and he was like, what? I'm so curious. Because I'm like, if they know, if they said that the base is a decoy, if Sheen and them have already figured all this out, does the government know they figured it out and they're just like trying to kill him as soon as possible so they can bring in the new people? Oh my God. Because it would be like, why would you send them to a base? I feel like the government knows what they're doing, and the Legion is all something the government's constructed. And that they're using the brains of the 86, but they're not human brains because they don't consider the 86 human. I mean, hell, they could be copying the brains for Legion from the 86 and then going and invading other countries. That could be what they're going to end up doing after this is over. Damn it. But yeah, the new juggernauts show up, and that's when Sheen and them know that their time is coming to an end. Oh my God. So yeah, he's like, what'd you have to do to get her sign off to beg? So then we see like energy pack, a month's supply, drinking water, and then the custom, what does that say on there? It was like custom warhead, 1 unit. And it's, yeah, the new juggernauts, and then there's the fireworks. And they're like, wow, from the Major. And that's when Karina leaves for her and Anju. I feel like Karina, I don't dislike Karina at all, and I actually think that now it makes more sense that she realizes maybe how much Lena cares, and she's like, girl, you need to stop, because she doesn't want Lena to feel bad, right? So we get this shower scene with Anju and her where they're like, I'm wondering if we can tell her. She's sending us presents and stuff now. Like, it's getting out of hand. Like, they're like, are you worried about her? And she's like, and I like that Karina's like, no, why would I be worried about her? She is worried about her. I like this little development with Karina, that Karina does care. She is concerned that Lena's getting too attached, and that when she finds out, it's going to be heartbreaking for her. And she's like, oh, why would I be worried about her? And she's like, but, you know, she wasn't scared of Sheen, so I think it'd be okay. That's all. And then Anju's like, well, you know, what do they say here? I know my dog. None of them are saying anything about it. And Anju just kind of stares at her. If we told her, she'd stop calling. She won't. And that'd be better for all of us. But she's not going to stop calling. Y'all know that by now. And then Anju says, yeah, I remember what Kaya said to her. And then she says she's not a bad person, so she shouldn't get involved with us. I like this subtle detail that we have, again, with the new supplies. There's the old bar of soap that's been used up to the point there, and then there's the new bar of soap. Like, they're just prepping for the new people to come in. It's like, and that part sucks too, is it's like it's a constant reminder to them that they're going to be killed off so that some new people can come in. That would be a terrible feeling too, to know that your entire squad's gonna get killed off and then it's gonna happen to a whole new batch of people. That would be an awful feeling, right? And they're like, they think that it would hurt her. And then so we see these words like that are on her back. It's like something with an E, there's a U, there's a G. Does it say she's a daughter? She's our daughter. She's a daughter. Is that what it says? Because they said that Anju was part Alban, so there's something like daughter in there. Interesting. Okay. And then that's when Karina asks, you know, are you okay with showering with anybody? And she's like, there's no need to hide it. She says, it's just the two of us. I feel like that part was really sad too, because Anju's basically like, well, we're all going to die soon. So at this point, it doesn't matter if I show you or not. I'm going to die soon. So what does it matter? I hate that, right? Because it's so sad. It's like her like partially giving up maybe. And I guess you could look at it as, you could look at it either in an optimistic or a pessimistic way. The optimistic way is that, oh, she's opening up to Karina because now that Daya's gone, she's like, I shouldn't take for granted these moments anymore. Who cares if I shower with you? It's not going to matter. The pessimistic way to look at it is that she's like, I'm going to die soon, so who cares if you see it at this point? And it could be both. But it's so interesting how she grew her hair out, and it felt very Boa Hancock from One Piece. And if you've not seen One Piece, that's all I'll say. It reminded me of Boa Hancock from One Piece. But the idea that she used her hair to hide that, and she, you know, that had been the intent from the start, but then Daya said that he liked her long hair, and so she kept growing it out for him. I don't know if she'll cut it or not. I don't know. I don't want Anju to die before we get to that point of having to think about it. And so then she's like, it's silly to keep worrying about it. And then she says, why don't you want to tell him? And then Karina's like, no, I don't have the right. And you know what? I don't blame Karina, because like I said, she, you know, if it's not mutual, and plus, why would she want to put that burden on him? Because she knows that at some point, Sheen is probably going to have to shoot her in the face. So why would she want to put that burden on him to say, oh, I love you, and then have him shoot her in the face? So it's better to leave it unsaid. And that's such a sad position to be in, because you can tell she likes him and she wants to tell him, but it just doesn't seem right. I like Karina. I like Lena and Sheen as a ship better, but I like Karina's character and how I like that she takes into consideration Sheen's feelings. And I like that Karina is trying to like say, well, who's going to take care of Sheen after we're gone? Is he going to be the last one? He's always the last one. Is he going to kill himself? Who's going to watch after him? Who's going to remember him? I like that she's caring about him and thinking about those questions. And then we see him talking to Lena, who will carry his heart. And the answer that the episode gives us is that Lena's going to carry his heart. But what does that mean? And what does that entail? Is she going to go carve out, you know, his juggernaut? What does that do? So 2 days later, and the sad thing is, 2 days later, the Undertaker, like his juggernaut, it's like scraped off. Like all of it is nearly scraped off, the paint and everything. So this part was terrifying, where they're at the base and they're like, report, and they're like, all personnel are ready to begin the attack on the Legion towards the base. And on the screen, there's 8 people there, and there's 8 enemies, and then he's there, the Undertaker. Okay. And he says, don't forget the base is a decoy. And he says, we watch for the ambushers in the surrounding area. Yeah, it says basically he's saying the base is, what he means is the base is a decoy, so when we've lured them out of their holes, 2 teams from the 4th platoon will attack. So it's like the base is just a decoy to lure them in as bait, and then they're going to attack them. That's what it's referring to. Oh my god. Nope. And it's just, the feather. Then, okay, then all of a sudden from the clouds comes this freaking cannon firing out of nowhere. Where did that come from? We don't know. What is that? We don't know. It's absolutely terrifying. And it starts firing off people left and right. And then we see the firework. We see the one guy. His gets blasted. We see another guy. And they're like, what the fudge is that? And then, yeah, they get out of the way. And then there's a second and a third cannon firing. Oh. And so that guy dies. Oh my god. And then him. And then Lena's like, I don't understand what this is. Like, what is this cannon? We've never heard of this before. It's an assault artillery cannon. I've never seen anything like that. And then he hears his brother's voice. So he knows that he's near. And the thing about it is that Sheen gets excited. Like, he smiles like, I found you. You're here. You're on this base. I know you're here. Like, it's like his mission to find his brother is he's found the white whale. Damn it, he's found the white whale like Moby Dick. And he wants to go after it. It's like, leave that white whale alone. You don't want to chase after it, Ahab. So that's literally what's happening. And then that's when Lena says, I'm calling off the mission. And Sheen's like, retreat. But he can't say anything against it because he doesn't want to call out that he's found his brother. So there are 4 cannons fired. What the fudge is that? So how many are left? There are 4 holes in the sky, like there are 4 cannons. And we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 8 there. Perched on the side there. So seeing who's left, Karina, Gunslinger, and Snow Witch are left. Undertaker. Now, Falk is, or no, Raiden's werewolf, isn't he? I think that Raiden is werewolf. So those 4 are left, and Laughing Fox is left. What about the other 2? Were there 2 others there? We shook off our pursuers. And she's like, I'm going to get you more personnel. And at that point, they're like, we got to tell her. Everybody's like, come on now. He's like, they had a plan to bring in replacements. And that's when she's like, and he looks, he's like, everyone, are you okay with it? And Raiden's like, yeah, I am. So, okay, there's 4 others over there. Corretto's over there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 10 left, right? So I know, what's his face? Oh, I'm going to miss his name. It's like not Heretto, but I know that's not right. But maybe it's Corretto. He's Helanthius. And then I think Falk is left. And maybe Fafnir. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I know maybe Gunmetal, Storm, and Cat and Nine are left. In any case, there's 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 left. Am I right? Am I right? Is there 9? I think there's 9 left. 9 of them left. Okay. Yeah, there's those 4. Oh, that sucks. And then the 5 there. So there's 9 people left. And then that's when they tell her that this is an execution ground. There are no new people coming. Yep. And they're like, they just get you that 5 years and you're out thing as bait. It's just to lure you in, and then they get us killed. And they're like, yep, no. They're like, what does he say? The vast majority of processors die before their term are up. And then it doesn't matter what you say will happen after their term. It's when you got guys like us who managed to survive for years on a battlefield where death is certain. So that means we're smart. And so they can't have us leading a rebellion, so they send us here to combat Unit District 1 Spearhead to make us fight until we die. We'll all die here. And once we're dead, that's when the replacements come in. And they knew about it from the start. They knew as soon as they got there that it was going to happen. Oh my gosh, that's so awful. And they're like, why would you fight? So then he says, Raiden says that an Alban woman from District 9 looked after him. And Sheen was raised by an Alban priest. Interesting, who refused to give up his land and was sent to the camps. Okay, so we have that. And so then we get that Theo told you about his captain. And then Carino knows the very worst of the Alba. So, of course, we all know how awful the white pigs can be. But there are also people like Kaya, who was abused by other 86 because of the color of their skin. So I like that Raiden points out, he's like, they said this at the very beginning when they were talking to Lena. They're like, we know some of the 86 are not good. Like, there are people in the 86 that are not good people and will abuse other people in the 86 and discriminate just as much. So it's either be scum or try to be better than the scum. Right? And then Anju, what is this? Anju, I'll get this out of this. I want to go back and get this. My little thing gets in the way. I'm trying to see this. So, Anju, oh, I want to get this. Haruto and Sheen have white pig or imperial blood. They're the same. Okay, so Sheen is one of them that his family member is Alban. Okay, so he has a family member that's Alban as well. Okay, and Haruto does too. That's Halanthius, Haruto. Okay, so interesting. Okay. So I'm curious. That's interesting. So I'm curious now about Rey, if that was maybe how Rey got so high up in the army at first, or knew Lena's dad because he had family that were Alban. Interesting. They're the same. Okay. Which Anju you could kind of tell, but you wouldn't know that from Haruto or Sheen. There were a lot of Proud 86 who fought to the very end. Yep. Even if most Alban are scum, we're not going to end up being like them. That's not a reason to let us die. Not all the 86 are good, so we decide which we wanted to be. Just because, I love that, just because scum treats you like scum, doing the same makes you no better. And they're like, if we're going to die fighting the Legion or die giving up. I love that line where he's just like, you know, just because you know you're going to the gallows doesn't mean, you know, you hang yourselves before you die tomorrow. Oh, that's such a good line. Damn it. We made our choice. All we have to do now is survive. Damn. And that's it. So then we have the very last thing where we see the Eastern, what is this? Eastern Combat Unit. What does that say? District 16. I want to go back to the end of this and see what it says there. District 16 Unit 1, Falks. And so then we see the Juggernaut unit with the cannons. And it's like massively bigger than all of the other ones. Awesome. Great. It's this huge thing. Oh my God. Okay. Well, that's terrifying. So yeah, so the big question is, well, what do we do? It looks like there's only 9 left of the original 24. So that's fun. I don't know the names of the 3 others other than Haruto. Haruto, Raiden, Theo, Anju, Carino, and Shin. We know them. We know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know 6 of them, but I don't know the other 3's names. They probably won't make it. I don't know. But damn it. Ugh. That sucks. And Anju and Karina are the only girls left, so that sucks even more. Fun times. I hope you enjoyed this reaction discussion. I'm still like, whew, definitely makes you a little bit sick to your stomach, but excited for next week. Because where do we go to from here? Now that Lena knows, what's she going to do? That is the question, but we'll find out next week and just see what happens. So I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, we'll just see what happens next week. We see episode 8 of 86. Bye.